Outside of our world, there is another world. It is a world unlike our own. It is a world with only two dimensions, length and breadth. We marvel at the complexities of their sighting classes. This world is a wonder to nature. We like to call it Flatland. As you can see, it's very, what's the word? Flat. The clever inhabitants of Flatland have adapted and devised many ways to see within their two-dimensional strife. The most popular, yet most plebeian method to differentiate between figures is what the masses call feeling, or simply touch, or as I like to call it, getting a little touchy-feely. Feeling is considered the least advanced method of discerning between shapes in Flatland. It is also the most widely utilized. Initiated by the polite phrase, "You must permit me, sir," feeling is often performed by the lowest classes of shapes. Now, that's enough. I think they get the idea. The process consists of one shape colliding against another's sides in order to discern which shape they are in the presence of. The only exception to this method lies with the higher class of Flatland. Upon encountering shapes upwards of 10 sides, feeling becomes tricky and can confuse even the best professor in Flatland. Plus, they're too good for that. Nevertheless, feeling is ultimately the most popular method of recognition in the world of Flatland. Sight recognition is a more superior means of determining different shapes. Detailed by analyzing the shadows and depth of a shape's sides, it is considered a more scholarly method of appraising other shapes. It relies on the presence of fog, and there's plenty of it, allowing the shapes to ascertain both dimness and clearness. The degree to which a side slopes into dimness is the key to seeing what another shape actually looks like. Those of the higher, more privileged class are sent to private institutions as children, avoiding public schools which teach the lowly act of feeling, focusing on how to master their line of sight. Sight recognition is ultimately an art to the superior shapes and a luxury to the average. Auditory recognition is not often utilized in Flatland, so to fully understand the art, we must take a journey down another dimension to a world that consists of only ups and downs. Known as Lineland, the art of auditory recognition ultimately shapes their meager society. Because those who inhabit Lineland can only see each other as points, sound is their only means of discerning length of lines as well as gender. The matching of a male's bass and tenor voices with the soprano voice of one woman and the contralto of another is what constitutes marriage, thus spurring the birth of 3 children and regenerating the population of Lineland, which makes for quite a harmonious relationship. This auditory recognition is a skill mastered by each and every inhabitant of Lineland. Recognition by hearing is a rarity in Flatland, for it isn't well developed and is considered untrustworthy, because of the ability of the shapes in Flatland to change their voice in order to sound like a shape of another social class. Voice recognition is much less efficient than the more popular methods of feeling and sight. However, there is one essential use for auditory perception, the woman's peace cry. Because women are lines and thus very dangerous, to keep the general public safe, they are required to relay their position constantly by letting out a very loud and clear sound that lets everyone know where they are. Now let's listen to the majestic peace cry of the female. Yes, how majestic. The art of coloring brought an aesthetic interpretation to the world of Flatland. It was utilized for at least half a century. Created by a Pentagon named Chromatistes, with a simple means of painting the sides of shapes. It began with him painting his house, his slaves, and finally himself. The fashion was eagerly adopted by the squares and triangles, the only hint of hesitation coming from the conservative Pentagons. It took only 2 generations for each shape to be colored, save the circular priests and the females. Those who participated enjoyed the splendor of such color, but did not understand the rebellion yet to come. When the Universal Color Bill was proposed, the bill detailed coloring women and priests the same, so as to create more equality between the classes. The circles, deeply disturbed by the notion that females could be equal to priests, manipulated the public and used the unfortunate events and tension during the time to cause an all-out rebellion. Many of the would-be revolutionaries turned on each other in the chaos, and so massive was the carnage that we almost could not bear to show you here. Almost. The Color Revolt, as it was later named, and the bloodshed which ensued is a horrifying piece of history in Flatland, yet many admire its splendor. The practice of chromatism is now outlawed in Flatland, and is only passed down by the chief circle on his deathbed to his predecessor. Touch, sight, sound. The three pillars of recognition within the lower dimensions. They are the ultimate cornerstones of perception, and shape the complex ecosystems that thrive in these worlds. Without these methods, all would be blind to the environment that surrounds them. It is a wonder to nature, and it is called Flatland.